Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. Chantha Nguon is a Cambodian author, cook, nonprofit leader, and survivor of the Khmer Rouge. In her new memoir, Slow Noodles, she details some of the stories of a painful past and hopeful future through recipes. With the help of Nashville-native writer and reporter Kim Green and Chantha's daughter, Clara Kim, Nguon's story shows us how beauty and joy can come from processing pain. Now, Sarong Vitkore was born in a refugee camp in Thailand in the early 80s and then immigrated to the United States. In recent years, she's begun to explore and appreciate her Cambodian heritage, in part through learning to cook. Producers Tasha A.F. Lemley and Kim Green shared a meal with Sarong to learn a little about how food can serve as a strong connection between people and past.
These are shiitake mushrooms, which I used to not like mushrooms at all. I love vegetables, but I used to be so terrified of mushrooms. Now I'm eating them because they're in Cambodian food. I grew up in Nashville since I was 3 years old. I consider myself a Nashvilleian, even though I wasn't born here. But so many Cambodian words and like these, Kim, I don't know what to say it in English. I only know it in Cambodian. And like, I feel like, wow, there's still some English words that I do not know that are just like basic. Like these, I don't know what you call it in English.
Oh, a mortar and pestle.
We call it tabal nreibok. When you're growing up here, you can't see that your parents do not speak English. And so, unfortunately, you kind of pull away from that. You see your parents as not representing something that fits into this culture. You want to be American. It was just kind of subliminal. For immigrant communities, it was about being American, being modern, going after the American dreams. And so if our parents did not speak English, they did not represent those values for us. Okay, we are cooking Cambodian food. And I'm making cha masul, stir-fry vermicelli noodles with tofu. Ooh. And in Khmer, it's called cha masul. Masul is the vermicelli noodles, which I have here. I am so thankful that I went to Cambodia and I learned these dishes. We never really once appreciated that when my mother cooked them, because they didn't look all that pleasant either. Especially when, because like I have a lot of siblings, and so she could cook everything in a big pot. And when you're looking at it, it's like, what is this? And my mother would be so disappointed because we didn't eat her food, and now we're making them. This ingredients, we call it Khmer krung. Khmer is another word for saying Cambodian. And krung means ingredient. So there's this paste that is a combination of 5 different herbs, lemongrass, lime leaf, galinga, garlic, and chili pepper. And so you basically use this to make that paste, and you just have to keep on hitting it until it forms, until it all mushes up and then becomes this paste. But this one, we're just gonna do a lot of garlic because I'm stir frying. There's 2 steps. You have to stir fry the vegetables and then you stir fry the noodles. It wasn't until just kind of my own personal search and investigation of what does it mean to be Cambodian living in Tennessee, why is it that my mother and father are here? And I'm so thankful now that my parents didn't even speak English, because I think it helped preserve more of the culture and the tradition. Although they did not pressure us to be Cambodian, we naturally just gained this appreciation for them. And so now we're, it's like, oh, you're Cambodian American.
We're talking Cambodian cooking, culture, and connection. Here with us today are the authors of Slow Noodles, a book being released today. Chantha Nguon and Kim Green, thank you both for being here with us today.
Thank you, Khalil. It is our pleasure and privilege.
Thank you.
Really an honor to have you both here. And also with us is Chantha's daughter, Clara Kim. Welcome, Clara.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Chantha, you flew in from Cambodia just a few days ago, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And Clara, you came in from London?
Yeah. On Saturday as well. Took,
Wow.
11 hours.
I am grateful for your time and all the long traveling you've done just to be here with us today. So let me start off by asking, Chantha, what is Cambodian food?
Cambodian food is what we grown up and we were raised, it's our life, our culture, and our family.
I understand there's a difference between some of the food that's made in the home and the street food from the street vendors.
That's very, very true, and also depend on the level of the income of your family. That's the way you cook Cambodian food. It's like everywhere in the world. With your income, you will cook different food than the people with very low income. But anyway, it's we use the same ingredients that we call krương. And it's based on lemongrass, lime leaf, galangal, turmeric, and also we have what's iconic for Khmer food, for Cambodian food. We season it with prahok. It's a fermented fish.
Oh, wow.
It's also depend on the income of the family. We will pay for different price of prahok. And that's what make us different from other country, different from other cultures, food.
Now, you said, pardon me, that the income level depends. Is that the same for the street food? Like if I go to the street food, is there particular, like very expensive street food that's only for wealthy folks and then street food for folks who don't make much money?
Street food means a low-cost food.
Okay.
They sell it on the street, but it's very, very enjoyable and it's like affordable. But if you go to a very expensive restaurant, you would taste something, the same dish, but they cook it in different way and more delicate and better prepared. And of course, you have to pay a better price.
What do you like more? Do you like the fancy food or the street food?
I like street food, but I also like to cook myself.
Now, okay, I want to talk about that because, you like to communicate through cooking, through your food. What can be communicated through food?
Love and sharing. I always, put myself, love cooking for friends, for my family, for my children. And the same way my mother did that for us, she put her love in and we knew she did it because she loved us. And the same way I repeat it in my life, loving and sharing through cooking.
Kim, let me ask you, what have you learned about your mother's home through the food that she cooked as you were growing up?
That's an interesting question. I'm a child of the late 70s through the 80s, and my mom was a working mom. So, that was an era when in American culture, there was a lot of food in jars and cans.
Yeah.
And I think my mom had so little time, she was a school teacher, that she really just had to assemble rather than cook. So there was more just making food happen than there was cooking. But she came from a Southern family without much money, and so she grew a garden. And we had food from my grandmother's garden and canned food from that my mom and her mother helped can together. And we didn't do that as much when I was a kid, but we did have really wonderful garden-grown canned vegetables throughout my childhood, and that came from, the generations before.
Did you develop the cooking bug as you got older?
I didn't. You're right. I did not have it when I was a kid. I was not very interested in cooking. And in the 80s, there wasn't sort of a culture of chef celebrities or we didn't even, in Nashville, there really weren't very many fancy restaurants. There were chain restaurants. So yes, it took leaving home and traveling, and then especially getting to know Chantha and Clara. They really switched on the cooking bug and the food-loving bug for me.
Now, Clara, let me ask you, tell me how you were able to feel your mother's love through her food.
I think my mom has this magic through food. There's always a dish that she makes, no matter how you're feeling, a celebratory dinner, a dish that she makes like pâté de foie, or when you're sick or you're feeling sad or you're missing home, there is a dish that will cure all of those feelings. And my cooking skills, I actually learned from my mother when I was really young. I was always helping her in the kitchen. I learned all the knife skills from her, how to chop spring onions in various different ways for various different dishes. But I didn't really learn how to cook and prepare a meal for myself until I left Cambodia to go to university in the U.S. I really, really missed home. So I just called my mom and I learned my first dish was a stir-fry noodles. It was very easy. I cooked for all of my friends in college, and it's also the recipe in the book as well. So,
and you've been gathering recipes. You've got a whole collection now. Do you know how many recipes you have that you've gotten from her?
I have no idea, but I Skyped with my mother until 2:00 in the morning, having a pot of soup ready. And I would send her about 10 different dishes a week, and she would send a Word document back with some of the recipes. There are no measurements, but I knew exactly how much salt to put in a dish because
you get to feel.
Yeah, I spent all of my life in the kitchen with her, so I knew how much all the ingredients were needed in a dish.
You're like the recipe translator in a way, because it went from word of mouth, instinct, tradition from Chantha through Clara, and then she helped us write these down so that people like me could cook these dishes.
I want to talk more about the recipes in a second, but I do have a question that popped up. We just had Valentine's Day. There may be some people out there who are heartbroken. Chantha, do you have a dish to heal the heartbroken folks out there?
It's not about Valentine's, but my heart was broken many times. And that's when I miss most my mother's dishes. So, yes, it's comfort food whenever you think about. And the dishes is, we call baba samchok. And that's when you feel unwell, when you feel cold. It's a porridge and cooked with chopped pork and top up with fried garlic and garnished with green onion and a bit of chopped ginger, and then a lot of compot pepper, ground compot pepper on the top. And that's the cure. It's healing.
Mm-hmm. It sounds healing. And I'm definitely getting hungry as we're talking. But I understand yet your hometown, Battambang, was recently recognized by UNESCO as a heritage site for cuisine. That's really cool. Tell me more about the food there.
We, as a child, and I remember the people from Battambang, we always very proud to be Battambanger. We never tried to be Phnom Penh people, the big city. We never tried to imitate their, accent, because we are distinguished of people from Battambang. And the dishes from Battambang are different from other regions of the country. I think because we are bordering Thai and it's a bit of influence. And also my mother was a good cook. And that's the memory of her cooking that helped me survive throughout hunger, poverty, whatever. And then we always keep that in mind. This is the dish from Battambang, from our family. Until recently, I was so thrilled that we got acknowledged by UNESCO. And I said, yes, they should, realize that sooner. But we always believe the food from Battambang are the best of the country.
That sounds like it. Now, we mentioned your book, Slow Noodles, is being released today. Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you.
Chantha, what does the term slow noodles, what does that mean to you?
First of all, slow noodles is my mother's favorite dish. And it's a noodle with soup noodles, but she despises the shortcut. So because she believes the very good dish needs extra time and extra care, the same with extra love. And so she made the noodle out by hand, roll it piece by piece to make the noodles. So it took like the whole morning for 3 people to serve 3 people, and that's the togetherness in it. And also it's the philosophy of her kitchen. Everything needs an extra patience, and that becomes this philosophy of life. When I went through hardship or bottom of life, we need patience and in a slow way to the philosophy to rebuild my life. And again, I show it to the women at the center we set up. If you want a sustainable future, you need a slow noodle way.
I want to talk more about the center and the work that you do with women later, but right now we've got a clip of you talking about one of your favorite dishes from childhood, ban chao, which it sounds delicious. This is from 2018, the summer when you did the Slow Noodles cooking tour here in Nashville, right?
I remember that.
Did you have a good time?
Very much, yeah.
Wonderful. Let's listen to that clip.
Bánh chao is kind of a French crepe, or you call pancake, but we fill it with fried chopped pork and bean sprout. We wrap the bánh chao piece by piece in lettuce and sliced cucumber and some mint or Thai basil and dip in sweet and sour sauce. But it's always fun together because we need many people to eat the bánh chao. Once you make it, you have to make it a lot. You cannot make 1 or 2 for yourself. So it's always the meaning of family togetherness for bánh chao still there. That's the main memory, and it's the main purpose for bánh chao.
It really sounds like it takes a lot longer to make it than it does to eat it.
Yeah, so that's it's kind of a slow noodle dish. You spend the whole morning, and I remember it Battambang because we put coconut milk in it. So my sister, the oldest daughter of the family, had to do the job, and she had to wake up like 4 in the morning and then scrape the coconut to squeeze the milk out.
Wow.
And then we don't have rice flour like now, so she soaked rice overnight, and she had to grind it by hand.
Wow.
So that's from 4 until 12 o'clock, then we had bánh chao.
That is a full work day, and your sister did this for the entire family as a part of it. Can you describe the scene for us in your mother's kitchen in Battambang? Like, what was it like on those days when your mother and sister made it? Could you smell it happening? Did you get excited for those meals when you were younger?
I was the one who kept running in and out and either ask for some or steal something and run away. And like spring roll, her spring roll also very, very special. Of course, as a youngest daughter, so I will get whatever I wanted. And and that's something also a good memory.
Yeah.
Like it never happened to me after that, but that's such the best memory of my life.
Is this recipe in the book?
Yes.
It is. Well, Clara, tell me, what does bánh chao taste like to you?
Oh my gosh. Bánh chao tastes like Sunday. That's what Sunday should taste like. We make it for our friends. I have a lot of dinner parties in Cambodia because all of my friends are in love with my mother's cooking, and bánh chao is probably one of the most requested dishes from my friends. It tastes nothing like any other bánh chao you can find in Cambodia. It's really, really good. And my mom, the bánh chao that she makes, sometimes she mixes chicken and pork together. Sometimes she adds shrimp in them. And the chef will not have time to eat because there'll be a line of people waiting in the kitchen, taking turns to get their bánh chao. And I can eat about 3 or 4 of them, and you should only eat one. It's one of my favorite dishes to have, but it's extremely difficult to make, and it takes a lot of time.
How can I try this dish here in Nashville?
Well, you can come to our kitchen.
Exactly. We can make it for you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Consider it a date. We're definitely going to do that, you know? So let me ask you, we're here in Nashville. Do you all have like a favorite Vietnamese restaurant in town?
Yes, I have. Vien Pho is one of my favorite restaurants, and my favorite dish to get is bún bò Huế. It's a very spicy noodle soup from a region in Vietnam called Huế. It's in like central Vietnam, and I will eat that and will have that over pho any day. It's one of my favorite Vietnamese dishes.
Okay, Kim?
I also love Vien Pho. That's my favorite place. And I love the bún bowls, the vermicelli bowls with pork and spring rolls. I could eat that every day.
Okay. Chantha, what's your favorite place in town? Here.
I just follow Clara and Kim, and I like it. I agree with them.
Okay. Yeah. I have a feeling my favorite place is going to be your kitchen. I think.
That I would say.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the book a little bit. Kim, how did you and Chantha collaborate on this project? How did that come together?
It started in 2011, and I was freelancing for a magazine in town that's now defunct called Her Nashville. It was a monthly women's magazine, and I got assigned a story about a collaboration between a Cambodian social entrepreneur and a Nashville philanthropist. And so I did that profile on those two. And then later that summer, the philanthropist, her name is Ann Walling, approached me and said, hey, would you like to do a longer project? And so she proposed the idea of doing something with Chantha, the social entrepreneur. And we ended up deciding that it should be a memoir in her voice that we would do together. We would write together. So we started corresponding, and then in 2012, I made my first trip to Cambodia, and I've made 3 trips. Chantha has made multiple trips here, and so we just spoke to each other, cooked together, traveled together over a period of about 6 years, and now we have a book.
You have a book. It's been over a decade in the making. What's it like trying to get this book published?
Well, that's what the other 6 years were dedicated to. It was very hard to get the book published. And I've heard from several people who are excited about this. And one of the reasons they're excited about it is they said, isn't it really hard to get international stories and memoirs published? And I don't know how hard it usually is, but for us, it was hard. We heard while we were in submissions for this, we heard some replies that were like, we don't know how to find an audience for this, which feels like code words for we don't know what Cambodia is all about. So, but we insisted. So, if you don't know what Cambodia is all about, why not read a book about it? How about some curiosity? So, anyway, we persisted, and here we are.
Wonderful. I want to talk a lot more about the book when we come back from this quick break. When we come back, we're going to learn more about how Chantha and Kim got together to write the book Slow Noodles and its potential impact on readers. You can stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil A. Colonna, and this is Nashville. We're talking with Chantha Nguon about her new memoir, Slow Noodles, with the help of Nashville-native and writer and reporter Kim Green and Chantha's daughter, Clara Kim. Now, the book launches today with an event at Julia Martin Gallery, so head to slownoodles.com for more information. Now, before the break, Kim, you were talking about how you and Chantha met, the idea for this book to come, and a little bit of the difficult process in getting this book published. But in collaboration, one culture learning about another, learning about history, trust is important. Chantha is trusting you to help write her story to an American audience. I want to hear from both of you, but Kim, you first. How did you take steps to earn Chantha's trust?
Well, I think the first thing that needed to happen was we needed to decide whether we should do the project. So the first trip I made to visit her in 2012, we had only met one time. We didn't really know each other all that well. We had corresponded a little bit, and she had started to write her story to me. But on the first trip, we jumped in her car and we traveled around the country together with the job that she had at the time, and we had lots of time to talk in the car. But there was the moment I remember it was one night in a small rural place in a village, and we bought a couple of beers out of a cooler and sat by the river under the moonlight. And she said, I have a lot of reservations about this. I don't know whether people will be interested in my story. I don't know whether people will care. And facing the past is very painful. So I don't want to write a tragedy porn story. And I said, well, I don't think we should. I think if we do this, if you choose to do this, and it's up to you, then I think it should be a love letter to your mother and sister. Because what I noticed as we were traveling around the country, interviews were very difficult and painful for her. But discussions over meals flowed so naturally because, as you see even today, when Chantha is cooking, talking about food, remembering meals, the memories come in a way that feels natural and is less, I think, less painful. So when we had the idea of telling her story through her mother's recipes and her memories of those meals that her family shared, and also the book being in honor of her mother and her sister and the previous generations of women in the kitchen, I think she agreed to it. And so I hope that made her feel more comfortable with it so she can pick that up.
Chantha, did you feel more comfortable as you got along in the process of writing this book, of telling the stories of your mother, your sister, and other women in your family who've been masters in the kitchen?
Yeah, it helped me to feel better than just to tell the story about my pain, about the past that I've lost everything, everybody, and even the country. So talking about food just like make me alive and remind about the dishes. Like I said before, we are so proud to be people from Battambang. And I'm also very proud to tell that to people, the dishes that we've been eating, for every day of our life for the first 9 years of my life. And I want to tell people how good my mother and my sister were. And that helped me. But anyway, throughout the project, it's not only food we talk about. We have to remind myself about what I have been through. It's not just only 9 years, but it's about 40 years of my life that we had to talk about. And that's sometimes it's really hard. Most of the time, it's like when you tell the story, like you live in it again. And so many times I just delay the question, the answer, or I just want to run away. But we did it.
How did you said you wanted to run away or try to avoid the question. How did you face the question?
What I learned through my life is finish what I have started. So just bend our head, go ahead with it, and get it done instead of, running away and still it's haunting you in your mind. So just let it done and finish it.
That's a good lesson for us all to have. Clara, tell me about this. What do people in Nashville, what do they typically know about Cambodia?
I think the first thought that comes to people's mind, if they have heard of Cambodia, is the Khmer Rouge. And I think hopefully through this book, that won't be the case anymore, because there is so much in Cambodia, our food, our culture, our tradition, music. We have so much to offer. And I think I felt like it became my responsibility when I left Cambodia is to tell people about how great Cambodian people are, how friendly we are. And there is so much to our history for 1,000 years before the Khmer Rouge. I hopefully that will be the case going forward with this book.
Mm-hmm. Chantha, what brought you to Nashville originally, the first time?
Like Kim said, Nguon is from a family who donated funding to our organization, Stung Trang Women's Development Center. And I was invited to visit Nashville. And Anne did many things to support Mekong Blue, and she set up MekongBlue.com in Nashville, in America. And I came to love Anne and respect her so much, because every time we get any problem with funding, Anne just simply send it more and say, "Thank you, Anne, for giving me air to breathe." And she said, just keep breathing. Mm-hmm. And it's so simple for somebody you never met, and then so easy to support you financially that way. And I feel like I owe Anne Nguyen something that I don't have anything valuable to pay back. And that's when her idea says she wanted me to work with Kim on telling the story. And I think that's one of the encouragement to help me to start this project.
Okay, so let's hear a clip of you, Chantha, at your Women's Center in Stung Treng, Cambodia. Kim, set this clip up for us. Tell us about it.
This is from, I think this is from my first trip in 2012, my first visit to Stung Treng. So her Women's Center is in a rural area up in the northeast of Cambodia. Stung Treng is the name of the province. And so she's just kind of introducing, why did she start this center? What is it for? What's her philosophy of helping women who are in poverty? And that's what you're going to hear.
Let's hear it.
I started this organization in 2001. We aim to support women who never been to school, illiterate, and who had no knowledge about health and hygiene and no access to health care, to help them to have a bit of literacy and a skill to be able to get a job, to earn an income, to improve their own life and support their children. With the culture of Cambodia, has stated, man is gold, woman is a skirt. It means woman doesn't need an education and she has to be a dependent on the husband for her whole life. And this is hard. It's very vulnerable to be a woman in Cambodia. Therefore, with my own understanding and experience as a woman with an own income myself, I can see if she can get a job and earn her own income, she become independent and she has her freedom to choose to get married at whatever age she choose to and how many children she wanted to. And that's what I love to see the women I work with to change their life that way.
Okay, so you said something really powerful in there. Man is gold, woman is a skirt. That's an interesting saying. Tell me more about that. Like, what does that tell us about women's roles in rural Cambodia traditionally and even today?
That's a culture statement about men and women in Cambodia. So the woman doesn't need an education because she's a skirt, she's a piece of cloth. It still happens in the rural area of Cambodia nowadays. If the family has enough money to send one child to school, they will send the boy. And they just teach the girl, you get married and you live on your husband. So whatever the husband treated her, she has to bear it because she has no education, she has no means to be on her own. And I in my family, it didn't happen to my mother. My mother was my father's financial manager.
Okay.
So she's very powerful in the family, and she managed the income of my father. So that's how I was raised. She's not vulnerable in the family, and she's the manager of the family, and that's how I can see. And also she told me, get a job for yourself. Don't be a housewife. It's such a hard life. And so I can see the culture of Cambodia, and I find it difficult to breathe when you live a life of a dependent on someone else. And you cannot control your life, and you don't know, you don't have an education to have how many children you have. It just happened to you of whatever it is. So that's what I started to work on, to share my experience with other women. But it's easy said than done. It's not overnight that you can be independent. So it's such a hard work. And again, it's a slow noodle way for these women. You have to be very patient, and you have to work really hard to crawl out of poverty and hunger.
What have you learned in your years of starting this nonprofit? What have you learned about how to help women and families who are facing hunger and poverty in places like Cambodia, who are trying to crawl their way out? What have you learned in teaching them and helping them?
I learned that every woman wanted to be independent. And they cannot because they don't get the right support, like the women at our center, because everybody wanted freedom. And that's why at our center, we were successful to have hundreds of women. You know, every day we had new women come in and say, I want to be a weaver. I want to be a weaver. And the weavers in their village, other women came to them and say, I want to be like you. And they choose the man they can marry. And that's something that's significant success in the community, that what we are doing. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's take one more short break. When we come back, we'll talk with Chantha Nguon, her daughter Clara Kim, and author Kim Green about Slow Noodles, and a book that uses recipes to create joy for people who have suffered from hardships. This is Nashville. We'll be right back. I'm Khalil Colonna, and this is Nashville. Chantha Nguon is a Cambodian author, cook, and nonprofit leader. Her memoir, Slow Noodles, she details the stories of a painful past, talks about a hopeful future through recipes. She did this with the help of Nashville-native writer and reporter Kim Green and her daughter, Clara Kim. Again, thanks to you all for being here. Really appreciate this. Now, we have Clara here is going to read us a section of the book. Can we hear one of the recipes? I think this one is called Silken Rebellion Fish Fry.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Silken Rebellion Fish Fry, or how to make unfresh fish taste rather delicious. This is an excellent training dish for a teenage refugee girl who is learning to cook. It is also useful for turning spoiled girls into useful household members, and for transforming spoiled fish into a palatable meal. Finally, it's a powerful weapon in the arsenal of any resourceful cook faced with a poverty of resources because of its cheap ingredients and big flavors. This treatment also works well to enliven plain tofu. Ingredients: 2 pounds old fish, too much salt, 6 to 8 stalks lemongrass, white part only, minced, 8 to 10 cloves garlic, minced, at least 4 Thai red chilies, minced, 1 cup neutral oil. Buy the least rotten fish you can find in the communal store or from your neighbor in the market. Grind down a knife edge as sharp as you can get it, the better to chop the tough lemongrass stalks into fine granules. In a bowl, let fish sit for 1 to 2 hours in too much salt, chopped lemongrass, garlic, and a vast quantity of chili. Overdoing it on the salt and chili will make your eyes water and imbue the old fish with a taste of forgetfulness. The idea is for you to forget that this is a very bad fish indeed. You want to taste salt and chili, not bad fish. In a medium skillet, heat oil over high heat. Turn the heat down and fry fish slowly until golden and crisp. Eat it with jasmine rice. If a bad fish memory reasserts itself, season with more salt and chili as needed.
Okay, that's beautiful. On the surface, it sounds like it's a recipe for rehabilitating like 2 old fish using culinary disguise. But, you know, tell me what you mean by the phrase silken rebellion, Chantha?
In our culture, as a young girl or teenage girl, obedient is what you are expected to be. But anyway, you always want to be a rebel in your own way. And it helps you to feel like, yes, I win, but nobody knows that you are a rebel. And that's what I mean. I normally find the way how to make the bad thing that you have to bear and make it bearable.
That's a lesson for all of us to take in. Now, Clara, can you read us there's a recipe called Slow Noodles on page 4, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you.
My mother's slow noodle philosophy in the kitchen has become a philosophy for life. From her, I learned that the best dishes require extra time and patience to prepare. Later, I discovered that the path from hunger and poverty to economic self-reliance is long and hard, if it is even possible. And I see now that rebuilding a traumatized society after genocide takes many generations of investment. There are no quick fixes. That's what slow noodles means to me.
Kim, let me ask you, how has the Slow Noodles philosophy really helped you in your life? And what does it mean to you now?
The first and most obvious thing is just in the kitchen, Chantha and Clara have taught me to be a much more careful cook, and things that come out of my kitchen taste a lot better now. But also the slow noodles philosophy that we kind of put to words together, Chantha and I, over all those years of work, came in really handy when we were trying to finish the manuscript, get it right, make it really reflect her voice and her experience properly and with utmost respect, but also to try to convince other people that they should, that publishers, that an agent, that readers should take a chance on it. And that has been a really long, hard slog. And I think we probably received about 20 rejections from agents, maybe 40 rejections from publishers. And so we had to continue to believe in it and slowly build believers. And so doing that work, it reminded me of what Slow Noodles really means. And no matter how discouraged I became, I would keep thinking, no matter how difficult this book is to sell, it is nothing compared to Chantha's life story, what she's endured. So we just continued to work on it.
Chantha, let me ask you this. Here in America, our society is so fast-paced. We have to move on to the next thing. Even here in the South, which is typically slower than other parts of the country. Here in Nashville, things are building. There's a faster pace of life. But the Slow Noodles philosophy says to take your time, to slow down, to show care. But to me, it feels like it also brings perspective on things. It gives you the time to really look back at the positive things of the past and assess and work through the negative things that have happened in the past to put you right here in the present to make a good position for the future. What's your advice to Americans, us living here in this fast society, this fast pace? How can we employ Slow Noodles to our lives?
For what we've been through and what Kim just has said, you can imply Slow Noodles into everything that happened to your life. Be patient. You don't feel desperate or you don't feel hopeless. There's always hope, because my experience, when you lose everything, it's not the end of your life. That's what we would like the readers to bring. There's always a way to get back on your feet. And sooner or later, if you have hope, you have patience, it's always have the way to help you out.
Mm-hmm. Clara, real quick, talk to me about this patience, this philosophy of patience that your mom has, how it's helped you.
I was very fortunate that my mother made sure that I never had to go through any hardships in life. But I think that she has taught me that failure is just another step to what you want in life. And I think she has taught me to be prepared. I know it's such a weird philosophy to have in my life, because I have everything I need to succeed in life: an education, good food, friendships. But I think as a child of a refugee, you're always scared that something bad will happen. And I think my mother had taught me to be prepared for anything, and I'm ready to face anything.
I really want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for this conversation today. My guests are Chantha Nguon, the Cambodian author, cook, and nonprofit leader, her daughter Clara Kim, and Nashville-based writer and reporter Kim Green. Chantha's new memoir, Slow Noodles, is available now. Head to slownoodles.com for more information. We're going to go out listening to BCK by Bakesy Cham Krong. Thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Elizabeth Burton and Tasha A.F. Lemley. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley as well. Our board operators, Linva Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are Larange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org, or wherever you get your podcasts. And the conversation doesn't end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram and tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil A. Colonna. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. And be good to each other.